Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes' Illuminati, the man who rules the world, takes on the head of the global elite in this all-new action-packed John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes' Illuminati in paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. Two people were killed and 8 were injured in a mass shooting that took place in Orlando during Halloween festivities.
You're staying on top of breaking news. The shooting in downtown Orlando that killed 2 people and hurt at least 8 others. This is News 6 at 4:30. I'm Lisa Bell.
Yeah, glad you're with us. I'm Matt Austin. News 6 anchor Ginger Gadsden joins us now live from downtown Orlando, where she's been working to try to get answers from leaders. Ginger?
Hey, Matt and Lisa, and part of the reason I'm not in studio with you guys this afternoon is because we are trying to press local leaders about what they are doing about security steps in downtown Orlando, especially in light of what happened here early this morning. When you hear 2 people dead and 8 others hurt, that is really jarring news to wake up to, especially happening in downtown Orlando. So that is part of the reason that Orlando Mayor Buddy Dyer has announced a local state of emergency that will be in place for 7 days. Part of that includes businesses must stop selling alcohol at midnight, and of course there is a curfew from 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. Now, I was at that press conference where they announced those changes, and we'll get to that part of the story in just a little bit. But first, we want to talk about that 17-year-old suspect. News 6's Mike DeForest joins us live in studio now to talk about that. Mike, I was just blown away when I heard the person that they say is responsible for these 2 shootings is just 17 years old.
Unbelievable. I've got kids around that age, and you just can't comprehend it. Right now, Jalen Edgar is being held in custody on 2 counts of first-degree murder and 6 counts of attempted first-degree murder. Earlier today, Orlando police shared this video of Edgar being walked out of police headquarters and placed into a patrol car, presumably en route to the juvenile detention center, since, again, he's only 17 years old. This is the 2nd time Edgar's been arrested in just the past year. Last December, Orange County deputies say they stopped the teen while he was driving a stolen car. Now, juvenile court records are confidential, so we don't know the outcome of that grand theft auto case. We're told Edgar was enrolled in Orange County Public Schools for elementary and middle school, but not high school. We still don't know yet where he might have been attending school recently. Now, Orlando police say that Edgar is not talking to them, so they do not know yet where he may have gotten the gun used in this morning's shooting or why he allegedly did it. Ginger.
Now, in this alleged incident that took place in downtown Orlando on Halloween night, 17-year-old Jalen Dwayne Edgar allegedly decided to go to the festivities with a loaded firearm with possible malice aforethought and allegedly shot into 2 crowds of people, winding up killing 2 people and winding up wounding 8 others. And as he looked to continue shooting into the 2nd crowd of people, Jalen Dwayne Edgar was tackled by police and arrested. And after being arrested, he was taken into custody. Now, the Orlando police believe what happened with Jalen Dwayne Edgar was an isolated incident, but when I take a critical examination of the actions that Jalen Dwayne Edgar allegedly participated in with this mass shooting, it definitely fits the pattern and profile for beta males that I talk about in my book, The Man Crisis. And based on what I've read and watched regarding Jalen Dwayne Edgar's background, he definitely fits that pattern and profile of a child of the corn, a child who was basically out here not being raised by parents, but growing up like a stalk without any sort of structure or order, and without any sort of structure or order over the course of his adolescence, Jalen Dwayne Edgar has basically been wandering around and basically running the streets, doing whatever he pleases, because according to records, there were records of him attending elementary school and then attending junior high school, but he had been registered to any high school at all, and had basically been off the entire records for going to school. Now, based on the information I have gotten about Jalen Dwayne Edgar's background and him not attending school regularly, I am going to speculate that Jalen Dwayne Edgar basically, again, was one of these children of the corn, and he was one of these children of the corn who was growing up without any guidance from his single mother, and possibly wasn't getting any sort of guidance or support from his single mother because she had children by another man, and possibly was looking to meet the needs of those children by that other man, based on what was presented in reports regarding his half-brother. And these reports from the half-brother, who allegedly attended church and was not out here looking to participate in criminal activity, shows me that what possibly happened to lead to Jalen Dwayne Edgar becoming a man in crisis was basically possibly him coming from another father. And because this boy came from another father, what happened to this boy is that he wound up possibly not getting his needs met by his mother.
West News' Nancy Alvarez joins us now. Nancy, you actually spoke to his brother who was out here last night right before the shooting took place.
He was, Stu, and before the gunfire erupted, Jeffrey Edgar told me if he had known his brother was downtown, if he had seen him, he believes this shooting wouldn't have happened. Before the violence erupted in downtown Orlando, Jeffrey Edgar was there with a group of 30 members of the Nation's Church Young Adult Ministry.
Telling people about Christ, praying for people, seeing people like get touched by God for the first time.
The group was in the same area of the shooting and left about 30 minutes before it started. Jeffrey says he was shocked to find out his half-brother Jalen is allegedly the teen seen on video opening fire. Did you know he was downtown?
No, I didn't know. No, not at all.
Jeffrey says he last spoke to Jalen 2 days ago, a phone call where he says he urged his little brother to get back on track and get his GED.
He wanted to get back in school, but I was telling him one day, man, like, bro, like, you different. And that's a good thing, like, bro, you're called to be a leader, to lead, you don't have to follow.
Jeffrey says he doesn't know who, if anyone, his brother was targeting. He just wishes he had spotted Jalen in the crowd before he allegedly pulled out a gun. You're convinced that if he would have seen you,
yeah, for
things
sure.
would have been different?
For sure, wholeheartedly. Yeah, I wish I at least just would have got a chance to talk to him. He would have came with me, just what it would have been.
But the brothers just missed each other, and now lives are changed forever. 2 people died.
Yep.
Several were hurt. I suspect many, many more are traumatized.
For sure.
What is your message to all those people and their families?
Bro, this is a really tough time for people. Tough time for my brother, my little sister, his mother, and the other families that was impacted. Their mothers, their brothers, their sisters, their cousins.
So you're hoping these people lean on faith?
For sure, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, because only Christ can get them through this. Only He can.
And Jeffrey hopes he can connect with his brother when he can and continue ministering to him just as he did a couple of days ago.
And because there were possibly issues between the mother and the father, what happened with Jalen Edgar is that he possibly wound up being emotionally neglected by his mother, who basically just wound up in a situation with this boy as he came into adolescence. And as he came into adolescence, what happened to this boy as he began to grow taller, as his voice began to deepen, what he began to do is start challenging the authority of this mother. And as this mother tried to deal with this boy, he basically started to spiral out of control and started to spiral out of control because there was possibly no father in the home to give this boy any sort of pushback as related to male authority and male authority figures. And with there being no father there to be able to push back against this boy began to go out here and rebel. and rebelled to the point where the mother possibly wound up doing what I talk about in my book, The Man Crisis, as a coping strategy, where she basically just shut down because this larger, stronger boy, as he was looking to again push back against her authority, this is where he wound up overwhelming the mother, and this is possibly why she just shut down and just let this boy go on to continue growing up like a stalk, like many of the children of the corn that are out here. And as this child of the corn was growing up like a stalk, not going to school at all because he hadn't been registered to any school at all, he was basically out here in these streets until about a year ago when he wound up eventually participating in possibly a series of dysfunctional and rebellious behaviors, and then eventually started to escalate his behavior into participating into criminal activity. And this is where law enforcement wound up picking up Jalen Dwayne Edgar for stealing a car, and this was the first arrest that Jalen Dwayne Edgar received as related to starting to escalate his rebellious behavior into criminal activity. And after this, he basically, after possibly being bailed out of jail, continued to go on, and sadly there was no family structure to again start establishing boundaries for him, because this boy grew up in a single mother household, and as he was growing up in the single mother household, it looks like his older brother was trying to give him some structure, but sadly an older brother is not a substitute for a father, because only a father can go out here and assert authority on a son. Only a father can go out here and assert authority on a son, and he needs to be, again, presented as related to being an authority figure by the mother, but that possibly wasn't done because this child that this woman had by another man possibly wound up hurting this woman and possibly wound up disappearing, and this is why the boy basically wound up on the road to becoming a man in crisis, because there were no men to go out here and give this boy structure or give this boy order, and since there was no one there to give this boy order or structure, again, this child of the corn, who had already been running wild and had already been arrested, wound up again escalating his behavior even further to further break the boundaries as related to things, because he basically got next to no punishment for stealing the car, which was an act of rebellion and some possibly could have been a cry for help, since he got nobody there to set a boundary for his egregious behaviors. He further escalated his behaviors by going out here and getting a gun illegally, and after he wound up getting this gun illegally, he then decided to go to this Halloween celebration in downtown Orlando and went to participate in a series of shootings where he picked random individuals, and as he picked random individuals, he wound up murdering the son of a wealthy man and wound up taking the life of another person, and then went into the crowd once again and started shooting once again. And as he wound up participating in that shooting, he went from participating in a crime that was like stealing a car, which was a possible felony, to participating into an A-grade felony with this mass shooting, because him shooting these random people basically led to this becoming a mass shooting, where he wound up shooting these random people, where he murdered 2 people and wound up injuring 8 others. And now this boy, who was basically troubled and in a situation that was really bad, has basically put himself in a situation that's progressively worse, because now that he's participated in first-degree murder with malice aforethought. This is where Jalen Dwayne Edgar will go from being a boy who was on the road to becoming a man in crisis to becoming a full-blown man in crisis, as he's now being charged as an adult with first-degree murder and first-degree attempted murder, and is now going to be from going on the road where his half-brother was trying to take him from on the road to getting a GED to now possibly winding up in the penitentiary for the rest of his life if he's convicted of these murders, and possibly in the case of this white boy, if he's definitely possibly going to go to jail because he's a black boy who basically shot a white boy, and that basically is sealed this guy's fate. And with his fate basically being sealed, what's going to happen to Jalen Dwayne Edgar is he's going to go from being in the chaotic situation in the streets to the hard authority of the COs and having to deal with the hard authority of the COs, providing him with structure and order as related to life inside of the county jail, and if he's convicted, life in the penitentiary. And as he's in the penitentiary, he's going to have to not only deal with the COs, but he's going to be dealing with the whole social pecking order of Bubba, Tiny, Roscoe, Big Dave, Melvin, and Mr. Sprinkles. And we'll be dealing with guys who are not going to be dealing with this guy playing these little street hustles and nonsense like that, as they trade him for Little Debbie snack cakes, ramen noodles, packets of Crystal Light lemonade, packets of Crystal Light tea, off-brand lemon lime drink, off-brand grape drink, off-brand orange drink, off-brand sunshine punch, off-brand fruit punch, off-brand apple juice, off-brand vanilla cookies, off-brand duplex cookies, off-brand Oreo cookies, off-brand ginger snaps, off-brand sugar wafers, Hunt snack pack puddings, packets of Smucker's jelly, packets of Sweet and Low, packets of salt, packets of pepper, packets of soy sauce, packets of sriracha sauce, Velveeta cheese, other items in the commissary. And as he's basically losing his dignity inside of that commissary, as his front side and back side are traded by Bubba, Tiny, Roscoe, Big Dave, Melvin, and Mr. Sprinkles. And Mr. Sprinkles comes in after they wind up tenderizing the front side and the back side with some beef summer sausage, and Mr. Sprinkles comes in and sprays the extra special sauce on the front side and the back side, then calls all the guys in cell block D as they watch as he splits the cheeks open, and everybody looks at this dude's backside looking like the inside of a Louisiana crunch cake. And sadly, what's going to happen to this young man is after they wind up turning him out inside of that penitentiary, that's when he's going to realize that it wasn't very smart to go out here and participate in such a heinous crime. And he only participated in this heinous crime, I believe, because he was simmering and boiling in anger because he felt like he wasn't getting his needs met by his mother, or basically getting his needs met by his father. And since there was nobody there to basically provide him with structure as a boy, he's again now on the road to becoming a man in crisis, a man who possibly will be suffering for the rest of his life inside of this penitentiary. And what's really troubling here is that this is not just one incident of a new disturbing trend I'm seeing as related to the man crisis that's getting progressively worse. Now, in this new trend I'm seeing as related to the man crisis, the shooters are getting younger and younger, and the frequency of their violence is continuing to get more and more frequent. And this is I believe, fourth or fifth person under the age of 18 years old to participate in a mass shooting. And sadly, no one in America is really looking at the real serious issue here as related to these incidents that have been taking place of these children getting younger and younger participating in this violence. No, what we hear from many local politicians is that this is a gun control issue. Well, it's not a gun control issue as I see it, because this guy again got his gun illegally. No, what's happening here is whether the guns are legal or illegal. What's happening here is we have a serious breakdown of the American family, and with this complete breakdown of the American family, we have children who are basically growing up without any sort of structure or guidance from their parents. And since they're not growing up with any sort of structure or guidance from their parents, what's happening is that they're winding up out here participating in antisocial behavior. Antisocial behavior like looking to participate in murders as related to things because they want to sate their feelings of frustration. They want to sate their feelings of frustration and anger because they feel like there's no family there to give them guidance or support. They feel like there's nobody there to care for them. And since they feel like there's nobody there to care for them, what these children are doing is lashing out at a society that has become completely indifferent to children because many parents are too focused on things like their jobs or their man or whatever they're interested in, and they're not looking to meet the needs of these kids who desperately need somebody to give them some teaching and some guidance. And that's what's making this whole man and woman crisis progressively worse, because now we're getting female shooters who are murdering their parents, like I talked about recently as related to the case of a girl out in the South who murdered her mother because she was searching her room for vape cartridges. I mean, what we're seeing here is a disturbing trend, but what's even more disturbing is the apathy of the American people, who really don't want to acknowledge the man and woman crisis in this country, and they don't want to acknowledge it because that means we have to, again, change the way we work in this society, which has become chaotic. And we also have to go out here and take time to realize that the way we're parenting children is a complete failure, because the way we're parenting children is not making healthy men and women who can go out here and do work in society. No, what we're creating are a group of antisocial and sociopathic individuals with no regard for human life, no care for another person, no empathy or compassion for another person. What we're seeing with cases like here of Jalen Dwayne Edgar is showing how the way we're parenting children is not creating healthy young men and women who are focused on trying to improve the quality of their lives. No, these children are so angry about nobody caring about them that they're looking to destroy the world around them. And they're looking for some way to destroy the world around them because they feel like there's nothing in the world for them at all. And as they seethe and simmer and boil in this anger, they go out here and look to destroy the world around them by exploding in rage. And that's basically what I believe happened here with Jalen Dwayne Edgar, as he allegedly participated in what I can definitely say is a mass shooting, because this guy basically, again, went to a downtown area, wasn't really looking to target anyone based on going into two areas of the crowd. This was a mass shooting, and again, a mass shooting not done with an AR-style weapon, but done with a pistol. And again, it's not about the gun that's the problem. The problem is that we have an issue with the family, and America just doesn't want to acknowledge the issues we have with our families. We don't want to acknowledge that our families over the last 60 years have fallen completely apart because we've been so caught up in greed about having careers and having stuff and making money that we basically have neglected our children, and our children are not growing up to become children, but children of the corn who grow up to become men and women in crisis, men and women in crisis who, if they are allowed to continue on like this, are going to create chaos all across the country, because if there's no adults to, again, set order and authority, you're only going to get more and more chaos from children like this. And sadly, many in America don't see how serious the man crisis is in this country. No, they don't really see how serious things are. And since they don't see how serious things are, they can't connect the dots and see how the children like Jalen Edgar are becoming more and more of the norm. And as they become more and more of the norm, we're going to go from being a nation of people as related to a functioning society to a nation in crisis, because if your children are not growing up with a family or a family structure that's functional, what you're going to have is a nation of men and women in crisis who will basically turn the nation so chaotic and make it so unsafe that we're going to have a nation in crisis. And sadly, many people are not connecting those dots, whether it be politicians or business people, to see our whole greedy approach is creating these monsters. Our whole greedy approach as related to making lots of money and having no time for family. This is what's creating the chaos here. And again, we're not investing in our men to make sure that they don't become men in crisis. Now, the half-brother was trying to invest that time in this boy, but sadly it was too late. And sadly, what happened with Jalen Edgar is he wound up falling through the cracks to become another tragedy in the case of America's man crisis. Now, if you want to learn how to identify the behavior of a beta male and try to correct that behavior before it becomes too late, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find The Man Crisis at other online booksellers like Draft to Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And in that book, I will show you all of the behaviors that beta males wind up participating in because they have no understanding of their role as a man in God's order. They have no understanding of how to function as a man, and they don't understand the direction a man is supposed to go in and how to correct that behavior to get a boy on the road or a young man on the road from being a man in crisis to becoming a healthy man. And I also have other books that further explain why we got in this situation. And those books, like The Woman Crisis and Why 70% of Black Women Are Single, are also available on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find them at other online booksellers along with The Man Crisis, like Draft to Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and other big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And if you'd like to see me make more videos about The Man Crisis, you can drop a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, John Haynes, The Man with Nothing to Lose. The man who rules the world runs into the irresistible force of a man with nothing to lose in this action-packed, all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get the regular and variant editions of John Haynes, The Man with Nothing to Lose on Amazon.com today. Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, The Man Crisis. Learn why so many men are struggling to find their way in an increasingly gynocentric world in The Man Crisis. Get your copy of The Man Crisis in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.